In this short video, you will hear from the candidates for U.S. Representative of PA-13. Democratic candidate Todd Rowley will respond first to questions. Republican candidate John Joyce sent written responses, and those will be read second, exactly as submitted by Caden Hendrickson. What is most important for voters to know about you?
Well, Emily, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you. Thanks to Juniata College. And, first and foremost, I think I want to express to your viewers and those folks who will be viewing this how much of an honor and privilege it is to be a candidate for Congress here in Pennsylvania's 13th Congressional District. It's been exciting. It's been quite challenging as a candidate in this environment that we find ourselves in. But I think a few important things that I'd like folks to know about myself. And first and foremost, I'm a product of Pennsylvania. I was born and raised on a family farm, not far from where my family and I live here in Westmoreland County. And I grew up with those values that we all share, those values of hard work and civility and decency and respect for each other and looking out for those who are less fortunate. And that's at the core of who I am and the candidate that I am here in PA-13. There's a few additional things at the core of who I am as a person and as a candidate. And first and foremost, I'm going to fight for justice and equality for every American. I'm going to ensure that our economy works for everyone, not just for corporate America or Wall Street, but it works for the working class, for our hardworking men and women and families across PA-13 in our country. I'm also going to make sure that healthcare, that every American has access to affordable quality healthcare, and that every child receives a high quality education in a safe, nurturing environment. And fundamentally, I believe that facts, science, and truth matter. And, to not have that understanding that the importance of those three things, I think, is so critical, knowing the world that we live in today. If we have to believe in science and we have to believe our health and medical experts. So, I come from a law enforcement background. I spent nearly 30 years in public service to our country, protecting the American people. And I hope that should I have that opportunity, that honor to be elected, to represent the citizens of PA-13, that my commitment to you and to the citizens of PA-13 is to always speak truth to power and never use rhetoric of fear or untruth or disinformation, or certainly hate to divide us. And to always place the interests of our country and the American people above any political party, certainly any individual political leader or personal self-interest. That's my commitment to the citizens of PA-13.
As a doctor who spent more than 25 years caring for patients in our community, I ran for Congress to improve Pennsylvanians' access to quality and affordable health care. As your congressman, I have been fighting to lower prescription drug prices, protect Americans with pre-existing conditions, expand access to care in rural communities, and support life-saving innovation. It's my honor to serve the people of Pennsylvania's 13th Congressional District in Congress. Even in the face of challenges, America is worth the fight. And it will take a team effort to restore our values, rebuild our economy, and renew the American dream. I ask for your vote so that I can keep fighting for you.
What do you believe are the two most important issues facing your district, and where do you stand on each?
First and foremost, I think we have to recognize that until we as a country and really as individuals take on that individual responsibility, what we must do in order to get on the other side of this pandemic and this national public health crisis with the coronavirus. Until we do that, the American people are going to continue to suffer, and our economy is going to continue to struggle. So again, we need leadership at the federal level in order to put in place the appropriate strategic plan in order for us to finally lower those infection and fatality rates. And until we do that, Emily, again, we're not going to be able to move forward with our lives. Our lives are going to continue to be disrupted. So that's first and foremost. But once we do that, though, from a job and economic standpoint, we have to rebuild our economy. And we do that recognizing here in PA-13 that it is our rural community. It's our farmers and ranchers and produce growers, our agriculture industry that drives our economy here. In PA-13 as well as the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and I would debate our country. The saying goes, when our farmers are doing well, our economy is doing well. And right now our farmers are struggling from a host of different reasons. They have many challenges. First and foremost of what the devastation of this COVID-19 pandemic has presented to our agriculture industry. But separate from that is the devastation that has been caused by the current administration's trade war and tariffs that have been placed, which has prevented our farmers from selling their commodities on the world market. So I'm a big proponent of making sure that our economic and tax and trade policies benefit our farmers. Our farmers want to feed not just America, but they want to feed the world. And right now they're hamstrung from doing that. So, taking care of our farmers and our agriculture industry, but also healthcare. Healthcare, I believe, is really the number one priority on every citizen's mind here in PA-13 and across our country. So again, I've made this statement before, but healthcare, I believe, is really a basic human right. It should not be only exclusive to the wealthy, and that everyone should have access to affordable quality healthcare. And I'm a proponent of a universal healthcare system in our country. And we can't achieve that overnight, but I do believe that the Affordable Care Act gives us a vehicle in order to reach that. So that's what I'm going to support, strengthening and improving the Patient Protection Affordable Care Act, because at the end of the day, we're all human beings, right? It doesn't matter what political party affiliation you are. We're all susceptible to an injury or maybe a diagnosis of an illness or a disease. And for that person to receive that medical treatment that he or she needs to live should not place that person or his or her family in a financial situation of bankruptcy. We have to avoid that, and we can do that as a country. But we have to embrace that recognition that healthcare has to be available to everyone.
As our nation continues to recover from the coronavirus crisis, we must get Pennsylvanians safely back to work, students safely back into the classroom, and our economy back on track. This region is home to an incredible workforce that is part of the long tradition of Pennsylvanians who have forged and built our nation. It is essential that we support Pennsylvania workers who keep our community moving forward. Even as Democrats want to keep shipping jobs to China, I am fighting to create American jobs for American workers. Additionally, I am committed to protecting Pennsylvanians from threats both at home and abroad. In Congress, I am working to rebuild our military, support service members and their families, and ensure that Americans are equipped to lead in the 21st century. We also must restore law and order in American cities. Every day, our police officers show up to serve and protect our community. As law enforcement officers face unprecedented opposition, I will oppose any legislation to defund the police, and I will always back the blue.
How do you plan to make college more affordable?
When we talk about college affordability, I think sometimes we're so quick to focus in on tuition, right? And it goes, as you know, Emily, as a student, it goes beyond just tuition. It's about food, it's about housing, it's about the, materials you need as a student. So I like to make clear that it goes beyond just what that sticker price is of a particular tuition that a college or university presents. But I'm obviously a big proponent of education, starting from a pre-K level, going through that middle secondary education, and then that post-secondary education, and making sure that every young person that has a desire to continue their education has that opportunity. And oftentimes it is about the affordability that decides whether or not that young person can pursue his or her dream of pursuing a higher education and a degree, and broadening, their understanding of the world and what they want to contribute to the world. And so, investing in our public education system in that arena in order to set the stage for young people to pursue a higher education in a college, university. And, to address the student loan debt crisis that the majority of students are facing right now, I believe firmly that from a state and federal government level, that we have to make those programs like the Pell Grant, which I was a beneficiary of when I went to college some, you know, decades ago. Uh, it was only through a Pell Grant and a scholarship that my family, my mother, who raised my younger sister and I as a single mother, it was the only reason I was able to go to college, was because of that assistance. And although I did have a student loan, and that student loan, I know, is not at the level that students, Emily, like yourself and other students across the country are facing right now because of the uh, increase in tuition that we've seen, triple, even higher than that, when I was going to college. So, you know, we have to give incentive to college and universities to cap those tuition costs. And we have to make sure that a lot of that endowment money is being funneled back into scholarships for students. But, from a federal government standpoint, from a position that I may find myself in here as a legislator, as a representative in the House of Representatives, that we have to ensure that we are investing in those programs, those financial aid programs, in order for young people to be able to go to college. And that includes those low income and middle income young people, families that want to pursue a degree in higher education. And I'm gonna work and I'm gonna fight to ensure that young people have that opportunity. And again, you know, based in that financial aid aspect, but it also has to have that assistance from college and universities, recognizing that it's expensive to operate a college and university. And I clearly understand that. But, recognizing that college and universities, we've seen kind of a drop off, a decrease in college enrollment. There's a reason for that. And it hits home right because of the affordability aspect. And Emily, one other thing I want to mention, and it goes kind of beyond the student in college, and it's about that student loan repayment program that is happening now with some of those public service jobs that we want to attract those young people to. And I'm a big proponent of making sure that those repayment programs are in place that would cover that student's loan. And because he or she has stepped in to those areas of public service, whether it's teaching or maybe a first responder Those positions that we are finding right now are very challenging to fill, particularly in communities that have a very difficult challenge in retention and recruitment. So I'm a big proponent of it. I think that's a great idea. I think we need to expand those programs where young people coming out of college with that student loan debt, when they make that decision to put their lives in public service, that they receive that benefit of that repayment of their student loans. So the combination of all those things, I think we can make a real positive impact on that big discussion about college affordability.
As a former work-study student at Penn State, I understand firsthand the challenges that many students face. In Congress, I have championed solutions to expand Americans' access to vocational and workforce training. Additionally, I created the Homegrown Healthcare Initiative to help lower medical students' expenses by bringing them home to central Pennsylvania to complete their internships, renewing the pipeline of doctors entering our local healthcare system, and opening the door for young doctors to live and work in our community for years to come. As a dad, a doctor, and now a congressman, I believe that education is key to success, and I'll continue to support Pennsylvania's students.
I understand our questions were limited in their scope, so I wanted to give you the opportunity to share anything else you would like with our viewers.
I'd like to thank the Juniata College community, the young voters out there. Everyone, I will tell you this, and it sounds cliche, I know, but you all do represent the future of this country. And I've said this before to groups of people when I've spoken to them, that I view myself somewhat as kind of um, a change candidate that will lead us to get us back on kind of the right track for our country. And the right track, when I talk about the fundamental shared values that we all have, again, civility and decency and equality and tolerance, um, respect for each other, the rule of law, all of those shared values that we have. And I recognize that you, as young voters and as young Americans, with the majority of your life ahead of you, and as you enter this new phase of adult life, if you're finishing your college, where you're looking ahead to some of these really important life decisions, what it is that you are going to do with your life, what contribution are you going to make to our country, and whether it's, if you're going to start a family, if you're going to get married, if you're going to maybe buy a piece of property or buy a car, or all those fundamental life decisions that we all as Americans kind of look forward to. And I would ask everyone to please, first and foremost, you have to be engaged in this election. And you still have time actually to get registered. Here in the Commonwealth, the last day is Monday, the 19th. So please register to vote. And once you've registered to vote, please participate, whether it's voting by mail or going to the polling precinct. And I'm not here to tell you who to vote for. The most important thing is to be a participant in our electoral process. That's our most fundamental civic duty that we have as Americans. And again, I just implore you to please participate in that process. And I just would, like to leave you with this, that our country faces a real important decision here coming up in about 18 days. And it is about your future. And I know you're thinking about other things than just student loan debt. I know you're thinking about the environment and climate change and, um, what your future looks like, what your future is going to look like, what our democracy is going to look like, what our racial and social justice for those fellow citizens, African Americans, and those citizens of color, our communities of color, the struggle that they are engaged in right now. We have to be a part of that. We have to be side by side with our fellow citizens, ensuring that their struggle for equality is a struggle that we have to take on also. So all these things I know you're thinking about, and it's unprecedented times that we're living through, but I know together, unified, that we can get through this period of time. But the challenges are steep that are ahead of us. But I know unified together, tolerance, equality, we can achieve those things that I know that we all mutually want to achieve. So again, I just want to thank you. And again, should I be so honored to represent the citizens of PA-13, my commitment again is to always place the interests of our country and the American people above anything else. And Emily, again, thank you so much for the time this morning to share some thoughts and my views with you and your viewers.